Here, April 20th, 1912, but the Red Sox actually have been playing baseball for quite a bit before that. We were founded in 1901 as the Boston Americans, and we played about a mile and a half that way at a place called the Huntington Avenue Baseball Ground. If you went there today, look for that stadium. You would not find a stadium, but you would find a local university. Northeastern University now takes up that spot. Northeastern crowd up there? Go Huskies. Oh, you do? Well, over on Northeastern's campus, you will find a little path. It's called World Series Way. On that path, you'll find a statue of the pitcher that led us to the first ever World Series in 1903. We played the Pittsburgh Pirates, and who won, guys? The Red Sox won the first ever World Series. I probably wouldn't be talking about it if they didn't. But yes, we won that first ever World Series in 1903, and that pitcher is enshrined over there in a life-size statue. Who knows who the pitcher was? Cy Young, correct, who the trophy is now named after, winningest pitcher ever. He let us win that first ever World Series in 1903. We were going to the World Series again in 1904. We were going to play the New York Giants, and they were too scared to come to Boston and play us. They thought the National League was superior to the American League. So there was no World Series that year, and we would have won it, but there just wasn't a World Series because they were too afraid to come to Boston. So, interesting fact, everyone ever asked me who won the 1904 World Series. They're joking you because there was no World Series that year. But baseball was gaining in popularity, and it was the Red Sox were definitely gaining in popularity. And that stadium over there only held about 8,000 people. Well, we would jam in. There was no concept of a sellout, so we would sell tickets to anyone who could afford one. We would jam about 15,000 people into that stadium. Clearly, there were no fire codes. But our owner in 1911 knew he had to end the problem. His name was George Taylor, and he actually went to his dad, who was in real estate, and he said, "Dad, find me a big plot of land where I can build a bigger stadium." And his dad said, I got you one, son. It's in the Fens district of Boston. That's where we get our name Fenway Park. Now, Fens is an old English term for swamp or marsh. That's what all this used to be before the city filled it all in with landfill, built the city on top of it, built the park on top of it. Well, his dad, the problem was this plot of land had 5 city streets surrounding it, and the park would need to be built within those 5 city streets. Well, the owner, Mr. Taylor, he decided to take up the challenge, and he built the park within those 5 city streets, and those 5 streets still border the park today, and that's kind of why Fenway has such bizarre dimensions, being the shortest home run out there at that pesky pole out there at 302 feet, and tied for longest in the American League in center field at 420 feet. It's because we built the park within the dimensions of those streets. Now, so we opened our doors that year, 1912, April 20th, and we played our division rival, the Highlanders of New York. Now, I don't expect any of you to know anything about the New York Highlanders, but while you're on my tour, you must all hate them. Now, we actually beat them 7-6 in extra innings, and we opened a new park, we beat a division rival, extra innings. You would think that would gain some front-page newspaper, wouldn't you? Well, it didn't. Something bigger happened in April 1912, and survivors were coming into Boston Harbor. Who knows what it was? The Titanic, correct. So that really puts into perspective how old this place was. The Titanic sunk 5 days before we opened our gates here at Fenway. We would, however, make headlines later that year when we won the World Series in 1912, our second World Series title. Things are really good here in Boston. Now, I've already thrown a lot at you, and there's one thing I need you to remember of my entire tour. If everything I say goes in one ear and out the other, I don't care. You just need to remember this one fact. As I said, we beat those New York Highlanders in that first ever game. Well, they actually finished the season that year 55 games out of first place. They crawled back to the Bronx. We're so embarrassed that they changed their name to the New York Yankees. So if you forget anything I say, just remember this one thing. We have been beating the New York Yankees here at Fenway Park since day one. Yay! The other 99 years don't really matter. And as I said, we didn't make any headlines for that first game, but we would later that year when we won that World Series in 1912. And then in 1914, we went down to Baltimore, and we scouted a man by the name of George Herman Ruth. Now, who knows his nickname? Dave, correct. One of the greatest hitters of all time, but in Boston, he was one of the greatest left-handed pitchers of all time. He led us to World Series titles in 1915, 1916, and 1918. The Red Sox won 5 of the first 15 World Series, 4 in 7 years. We were spectacular. We were the first dynasty in all of baseball, and we're not selfish like the Yankees, so we got together as a team, and we figured, you know what, one team winning that much isn't good for a sport, so we're going to take a little break. and that break lasted a little longer than we wanted. It lasted 86 years. We would decide to win again in 2004. No, obviously I'm kidding. That wasn't a voluntary break, and many people know it today as the curse of the Bambino, or the curse of Babe Ruth, or simply the curse. Here in Boston, we didn't like to talk about it until 2004, when the curse finally ended. But that curse, I promise you, Babe Ruth gets all the blame. Everyone blames him for it. The rumor has it that he was so angry after we traded him, after that World Series, we traded him on the day after Christmas in 1919, and he was actually so upset that the rumor has it he threw a piano in a lake and cursed the Red Sox to never win again. No, I promise you that's just folklore. It's not true. But Babe actually loved his time in Boston. The problem was he may have loved the local drinking establishments just a little too much. He actually was a party animal, and he wouldn't always show up at the park the next day. He also wanted to start batting more and pitching less, be an everyday player, and that means he was demanding more money. Well, our owner at the time, a man by the name of Harry Frazee, had enough of the Babe's antics, and he decided to end the problem, and he sold the Babe to the highest bidder at the time. Now, the highest bidder at the time then is still the highest bidder today. It never changes. It's the New York Yankees. We sold him for $100,000. What many people don't know is that over the next few seasons, we sold 15 other players, 12 of them to the Yankees, 3 of them to the St. Louis Cardinals, all for a total of $125,000. Now, what many people even don't know after that is our owner didn't stop there. He needed a lot more money. He had some plans in the future, and he actually sold the mortgage on Fenway Park to his good friend, the owner of the New York Yankees. So it was pretty bad here in Boston. Our whole 1918 World Championship team had been broken up. We were paying rent at our own stadium. It was pretty bad here in Boston. And that's why I want to tell you, you need to call it the curse of Harry Frazee and not the curse of the Bambino. Because you would think with all the money he gathered from all that, he would dump it back into the stadium, dump it back into the team. But he actually didn't. He had a passion far greater than baseball in his life. Who knows what it was? Plays, correct, Broadway musicals. He actually used all that money to finance a show that he was really, really passionate about. It started out being called My Lady Friends, later changed its name to No No Nanette. Now, who here has seen No No Nanette live on stage? That's about as many people saw it in the 20s. It started out as an utter disaster. It went nowhere. It was an absolute disaster, and the Red Sox lost a lot of money in it. The thing about it is, we didn't have a good team, we didn't have a lot of money, and we were actually in the 20s. We came in dead last 8 of those 10 years. For those other 2 years, guys, we were really good. We came in second to last. 4 years, we lost over 100 games. Things were awful here in Boston. It was just an absolute disaster. So, it was just an absolute disaster, as I said. The 20s were miserable, but in 1933, everything took a turn for the better. A man by the name of Thomas Alston-Yaki, a young millionaire, came up from South Carolina. He earned all his money the old-fashioned way. He inherited every single penny, and he actually took all that money he had in for his 30th birthday. He bought himself a gift, that being Fenway Park and the Boston Red Sox. Now, he took that gift, and he started dumping money into it, and he did 3 major things. We're about to go sit on top of the most famous of all those things. But the first, you're sitting in them, the oldest seats in all baseball. These are the original seats that he put in 1934. As many of you over 5'5" have noticed, they're some of the most uncomfortable seats in all of baseball. Now, he also, if you look out to where those green seats, those green bleacher seats meet with those blue and red seats, there's about a 10-foot gap. There used to be a chain link fence in between them. He actually connected those green seats to the rest of the park. It used to be a whole separate building. You could only stay there if you had a ticket there. So he made it so you could walk around the whole lower bowl like you can today. And the third thing he did, he built the most iconic part of Fenway Park, the 3rd most photographed wall in the world behind the Great Wall and the Wailing Wall. That is the green monster out there, 37 feet, 2 inches tall. I'll explain to you when we're on top of there why exactly he built it. There's a reason it is so tall. There's a reason it's the tallest wall in all of baseball. Now, before we go up there, I know I just threw a lot of early history at you, a lot of random facts. I'm sure you guys have some questions. Anything at all? Yes.
What year was Wrigley Field built?
2 years after us in 1914, and then the 3rd oldest park used to be Yankee Stadium, but the Yankees must hate history because they knocked that down and built a brand new stadium. So the 3rd oldest park now, you have to jump 50 years ahead after Fenway and go out to LA to Dodger Stadium. Any other questions? All right, guys, and I'm just going to have $2 ticket and all of Major League Sports right here. And I promise you it's not an easy ticket to get. Now, when we originally put these on sale, we weren't sure how popular they'd be. Usually high-up seats and outfield seats don't sell for that much. So we just put them on sale for $50 in the middle of February. Well, probably a bad idea. Because if anyone knows Boston winters, they're miserable. And we had a snowstorm. But it didn't stop about 2,000, 3,000 people from lining up, wrapping all the way around the park for up to 4 days before, in the middle of that blizzard, camping out, cooking their food by firelight. Well, they actually sold out of every ticket on top of this wall for that entire 2003 season in 72 minutes. All the standing room and all the tickets up here. So there's 81 home games, there's 268 seats, and there's the standing room, all sold out in 72 minutes. We realized we needed to do something different, especially because a lot of ticket vendors were buying those up, and they were reselling them for 5, 6, and up to 9 times the original price of those tickets. So crazy things, we needed to do something different. So the following year, we established what is now done if you want to sit here or on that Budweiser roof deck where we're going to end our tour. If you want to sit in any of these seats for a game, or if you want to sit anywhere in the park for a Yankee game, you must enter your name in RedSox.com in late January, early February. When you enter your name, you are entering a lottery. In March, they notify you if you have won the right to purchase up to 4 tickets to one game. Now, I promise you don't win the tickets, you win the right to purchase the tickets. But that is now how these tickets are all done. Now, as I said, there is a reason this wall is so high. When Mr. Yaki bought the team in 1933, he was immediately being sent the bill from local, there was a car dealership on the road behind you, Lansdowne Street. There was also a bunch of local businesses. So those businesses all had glass windows, and baseball was changing from the dead ball era to the live ball era. Simply meaning balls were getting harder, and if you got a hit of it, you could really send the ball flying. Well, there was just a little hill out and outfield over here, and a little 10-foot fence. Well, this is a short home run. It's 310 feet. So balls were flying over that fence and hitting, breaking windows at that car dealership and those businesses. Well, Mr. Yaki went out there to survey the damage, and what he saw frightened him even more. Not only would he have to pay for all those broken windows, but those owners of those businesses were letting about 1,000 people stand on the roof and watch the Red Sox play for free. Now, that may be acceptable in Chicago, but here in Boston it is not. So he built perhaps the biggest overreaction in all of baseball. He built a 37-foot, 2-inch tall wall, and it is pretty spectacular. He put a 23-foot net on top of it, keeping no balls from exiting the park and no freeloaders from looking in. So until, however, the wall was not green until 44, and there's a reason because of that. It was actually blue, and it was covered in white paper advertisements from head to toe for stupid things like bubblegum and razors. And those white advertisements would actually cause backside glare, and players would lose the sight of the ball. Well, it took until Ted Williams, our most famous baseball player, ever complained about that glare, that Mr. Yaki ripped them all down. But what he saw frightened him even more. There was a Yankee blue giant wall in his left field. So he, like any married husband would do, went to his wife and said, "What color should I paint the wall?" And she said, "How about a nice green to match the grass?" Now, I don't know if grass in the 40s was just a different color, or if she was simply crazy, but we like to say this green really complements the grass well here now. And we absolutely love it. It spans the entire length of the park, and it is actually copyrighted by the Boston Red Sox as Fen's Green. If you want a similar color, though, Benjamin Moore does mix Fenway green to satisfy popular demand. While you're up here, I need to tell you about our 2 giant yellow poles, because they are both iconic. And as I said, we love history here at Fenway, and we love to name things. Well, the pole that is all the way over there, who knows the name of it? Pesky pole, correct, named after Johnny Pesky, one of the greatest Red Sox players, shortstop. He was amazing, but he wasn't very powerful. He actually only hit 18 home runs in his entire career. 8 of them hit that pole or wrapped around the pole, simply because that's the shortest home run in all of Major League Baseball, 302 feet. Well, his teammates would always joke, that's the only home run you can hit, Johnny. And they were right, basically. And his teammate, Mel Parcell, a pitcher, actually went on to become a broadcaster. Anytime anyone hit that pole or wrapped around the pole, he would say, "That's a pesky little home run." So the name stuck, and we named it after him on his 90th birthday in honor of him. Now, this pole right here, I'm sure some of you older people will remember this game because it actually was named by ESPN as the greatest televised baseball game of all time just a few years ago. I've watched it on replay millions of times. I wish I was at that game, but I wasn't born yet. It is that 1975 Game 6 World Series game against Cincinnati. Now, if any of you remember that game was one of the first televised night World Series games. It went late into the night. It was approaching 1 a.m. They were thinking about calling off the game and starting it the next day. And Carlton Fisk gets up to bat. And he hits a ball that really have enough distance. The only problem is it's going foul right over here behind me. And Fisk actually does one of the most iconic and memorable things in all of baseball. He fisked the ball fair, as we say here at Fenway. He willed the ball fair. He said, get fair, and the ball actually hit off the top of his pole, and the Red Sox won. We went into Game 7. If you want to hear about Game 7, you'll have to go to Cincinnati. But that actually went down as one of the most memorable Red Sox games of all time, memorable baseball games of all time. He actually had to elbow fans that had charged the field off of him as he rounded the bases. He had to make sure he touched every base. The Fenway Park Organist, who had been playing here and at the Boston Garden, where the Celtics and Bruins played, he actually he played the organ at those two stadiums for almost 50 years, and for the only time in his career, he broke out in the Hallelujah chorus. Church bells went off all around the city of Boston. It was really iconic. It was a special moment here in Boston. We named the ball after him in honor of him. So that was really special here. Now, there's this, let's talk about it here. There's one seat in particular here at Fenway Park that we are absolutely in love with. It is the most famous red seat in the entire stadium. Now, you're all probably looking at me like, there are thousands of red seats here. What are you talking about? Now, you on the end over there in the corner, you might have a little trouble seeing this, but can everyone see that third sign above those green seats?
Yeah. There it is.
If you look at the R in third and you drop your eyes about 3 sections, you'll see a lone red seat in a sea of green. The most powerful seat in all of Fenway Park. That marks the landing spot of the longest home run hit inside Fenway Park, and it was hit on June 9th, 1946. It has yet to be broken. 502 feet hit by Ted Williams. Now, in 2004, Manny Ramirez hit one that was estimated to go 501 feet, so people have came close, but it has not yet been broken, and we absolutely love that seat. Now, people always ask me, how do we know exactly where that ball lands? Well, we know exactly where it landed because there's a story behind it. There's a man, he was on business here from Albany, New York. Now, he wasn't a Yankee fan, he was just a baseball fan, and he decided to skip out on a business meeting, which was clearly not a good idea because he ended up on the cover of the Boston Globe the next morning. But it was a day-day doubleheader. We didn't install lights till the year after that. So there was a game in the morning, game in the afternoon, second inning of the second game. He was sitting in that seat, got a little tired. It was a hot June day. He pulled his big straw hat over his eyes. Again, not a good idea because that blast came and rocked him right on the head. Actually punched a hole through his straw hat. When he woke up, there was an EMT on one side and a reporter on the other. Rumor has it he flirted with the nurse, and so they knew he was fine. So the reporter started drilling him questions. He said, "My name's Joe Boucher. I'm from New York, and I know now I need to be a Red Sox fan, a Ted Williams fan." And we know he stayed true to his word because 60 years to the day, on June 9th, 2006, 30 members of the Boucher family came. They sat in that row. They threw out the first pitch, all wearing Red Sox gear, all wearing big straw hats with holes cut in them, and they left that seat open in the row. They left it open in memory of Joe Boucher because he had passed away just a few years before. Now, we also left that seat open in 2002 after Ted Williams passed away. For the remainder of the season, people would come and lay roses and flowers on it. It was really special here at Fenway.
Cool.
I know I just threw a lot at you, a lot of early history, some later history. Does anyone have any questions while we're up here? You guys really don't have any questions? Nothing at all? Alright guys, then, what? If you win the right to purchase these seats, it's $165 a seat.
Oh, wow. Not bad.
Alright,
Not for one of these.
can we go up to what's next?
What is that? I'm recording as we walk. Going to the press box. Look at that. Oh, wow. press box at Fenway Park. And we are got a window open here out to the field. And right across is that red seat in the forward section. As close as I can get. Good luck. Good luck, Boston Red Sox. Here we go. 2011. This is amazing. Can you believe And of course, we got the Cisco sign over there that Jared was talking about. Over there. Coca-Cola. These guys are hooked up there. Oh, yeah. On the State Street Pavilion.
Good management.
So all the green monster seats are over there that we were just at. There are 165 seats, is that what he said? 165 seats. Yeah. If you get that lottery.
If you get picked in the lottery.
You want me to go up top if you'd like to go out and make a U-turn?
Oh.